All right, welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is Ghost 1.0. Um, Ghost is a Metroidvania where two super hackers hire a mysterious agent in order to infiltrate the Nakamura space station to steal the greatest electronic secret ever. Of course, the space station will defend itself, which is where the fun begins. The station's defenses, with their never-ending arsenal of weapons and artifacts, will have to be destroyed. But the story gets more complicated when the hackers find out about their agent's hidden ties. Indeed. So, let's see, where to start with Ghost 1.0. I will note, we did have the developer of this particular title on the program last year, but that was, as I recall, it's been a while, but that was focused more on their more recent Unmetal game. Not their most recent release at time of recording, but and we've covered a bunch of Unepic's games over the years, just not this one. Well, rectifying that here and now. Not once again, not the first Metroidvania Unepic friend has developed either. That would be literally Unepic. But that was tilted much more towards the Castlevania side of the Metroidvania equation. This one, try to take a guess.
Yeah, looking at the opening shot.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this is taking its cues from the Metroid side of things. But not as closely as, say, Axiom Verge. And that starts with the controls. So the controls are the part of the game where I had the biggest problem with. Because, how do I put this? The title tried to do something different. And that is, it brought in, let's say, twin stick shooter controls of a sort to the proceedings. Like,
I mean, that's been done before, but in varying degrees of well or not.
Yeah. Like, Petty, I don't know if you're playing with a controller right now, or...
I have my controller in hand, yes.
Yeah. So, what I mean is, you move with the left stick, you aim with the right stick. You don't aim and shoot. No, So already, there's a problem here. And that is movement with... Okay, this is a 2D game, but I'm moving with the analog stick. And it's side-scrolling. So what does that mean? That means I'm getting imprecise movement out of this thing. It's like... Ideally, it's like the ideal movement in a 2D platformer of this kind, Metroidvania or no, is usually with a D-pad. But you can't use a D-pad here. Like, D-pad...
Yeah, and sometimes that's better for 2D platforming.
Yeah.
Unless there's a really strong analog speed function.
That would be the case here, with just what they did in terms of the aiming.
Like,
you use the analog...
left and right movement modulation is digital, it seems like.
Right, but it doesn't flow well on an actual analog stick.
Right.
That's the problem. You know, like, and personally, I just do not like using an analog stick. Like, and the inverse is true. Like, for a 3D platformer, you can use a D-pad, sure, but it's going to be a pretty awful experience. It's why Super Mario 64 DS is the best worst version of itself.
I hate that's accurate.
Well, I mean, blame Scott the Woz, since he came up with that titling. Anyway, so that's my first problem here. My biggest problem is with how some of the core functionality is mapped. Like I said,
why is left bumper jump?
That's where I'm going with this. That is exactly where I'm going with this. I'm like, this is fucking awful.
I'm sitting here pressing A to try and jump. Why is A doing literally nothing?
A, is your action button?
Yeah, they could literally have swapped those, and this would be 1,000 times better.
Oh, God, yes. Now, here's the thing. This is still a fine game. It's playable, but it never gets over the awkwardness of its controller controls. Not sure how well it fares with a keyboard and mouse, because, quite frankly, what this game is doing makes me scared to try it with that, even though it'd probably be more accurate with mouse aiming. But, like I said, it's a pretty complex affair in terms of Metroidvania 2D platformers, etc., etc. But yeah, jumping is on the left bumper. Firing your primary weapon is on the right bumper. I'm like, these don't work.
Yeah, usually those are the triggers when you're shooting.
Yeah, the triggers are used for rolling and firing your secondary weapon. Or in my case, that ended up being my primary weapon, because guess what? Using the bumper for firing a weapon is fucking awkward.
It's good to put it on the shoulders.
Oh, what fresh hell!
It's good to put it on the shoulders for when you're going to be aiming with your thumb rather than a face button.
Yeah,
but it seems like
and that gets
overall, actually, I would say it seems like maybe it would be good if you could remap your controls.
Yeah, and that gets into why are such core functionality in such weird places.
I guess I can remap my controls if I want, but that's
But how many people are going to do that?
Fair.
I'm getting into default controls.
This is how the developer wanted us to play this.
Yes.
Okay, if it can't be remapped, that removes about half of my complaints.
Right.
Because I did suffer through the entire Mega Man Zero series that starts you off with a back-assward control scheme, but...
Right. But, yeah, it's like, I wanted to get this across, because, yeah, in its default control scheme, the game is very awkward and gangly, and never stops being that. Just because, yeah, I could never get used to firing with, or especially jumping with the bumper. Maybe the triggers. But, those for me are face button actions.
Right.
Now, something like
switching... I guess it depends on how much they want you to be doing that while you're also aiming and shooting.
Right. Well, yeah, and that gets into the other bit of awkwardness, because, even though you can adjust your controls, it doesn't stop being awkward in some fashion, because... and what comes down to is the twin stick orientation that's at the center here, because what you can't do is you can't like I don't think you could take the like the movement, like you can't, and especially you can't take the aiming off of the right stick. Like the game requires you to have that 360-degree aiming, as opposed to much more rigid functionality seen in other Metroidvania titles. So you've got the twin stick configuration. Even if you move jump and shoot to like X and A, you still need to have both thumbs on the sticks. So where are your fingers going to be? Like, they're not orientated towards the face buttons. They're orientated towards the triggers and the bumpers. See, I can parse out the logic of this.
Want a crab grip?
Hmm?
What? You don't want a crab grip?
No, I don't.
Coward. Wait.
Yeah, I'm like, or use another, like a third finger here. Like like it's going to be an awkward configuration no matter how you look at it. Wait,
you don't have your third hand set up for this? You're welcome.
If I didn't grow it for the Nintendo 64, I wasn't growing it for this. Like, so anyway, my ultimate point here is I can parse the logic of why the control scheme is this way. I'm like, it's just, my muscle memory won't fully allow me to accept jumping on the left bumper. Left trigger was much more workable. Even though it's not my first choice for jumping, it works out better than this bumper shit. Like, I honestly don't know why that. Like, why the left bumper for jump and not the trigger? Like, I don't know. But like I said, it's fixable. It's workable to an extent.
I mean, I guess it's a little easier for me, kind of, because I have remappable paddles on my controller. But I can understand that not everyone wants to shell out the money for that type of controller.
Yeah. Anyway, so with that out of the way, it's still a really good game. I'll be upfront about that. It's just, this is probably the strangest controlling Metroidvania I've ever played, and we played a lot of these. Like,
oh, looks like if you're using controller, there's a heavy aim assist on.
Oh yeah. Like, I noticed that pretty much immediately, because here's the dirty little secret of like using the twin stick setup. You're still using an analog stick, and so your accuracy is going to go down. I still wouldn't recommend this game with a mouse and keyboard, quite honestly, given how much you have to do.
I guess maybe if you have like a keyboard like mine where I have mappable buttons.
I mean, you can map buttons and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, like buttons on my mouse, so I'm not having to take my hand off the mouse or readjust off the movement keys.
I mean, yeah, you can do that, but like I said, the controls here are a bit more complicated than, say, Jazz Jackrabbit.
Well, like we try to assess, assuming somebody hasn't dropped almost $100 on a quote-unquote gaming mouse and keyboard.
Fair enough. Like, Now, another principal influence for this game is try to guess. It's, you can match a Ghost in the Shell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of... Ghost in the Shell is almost general cyberpunk.
Yeah.
The main reason it's not is because the main characters are government employees.
Right. But in this case, the influence is much closer to the vest because, as the blurbs kind of indicated, the secret here is, right here. Petty Fang, you will want to hit the X button.
What, back in the room with the dude walking about?
Yes.
Alright, I'm hitting X, but I can't hear the game. So
Okay.
if it's supposed to be doing something, it's not telling me.
Okay, so you have, it hasn't unlocked yet.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get to it soon enough.
What, do you have super camouflage or hacking or...
No, like the Major, your actual being is a ghost. Kind of the electronic sort, but
that's a little bit metaphorical in Ghost in the Shell, but yeah.
Well, I mean, this one's being a lot more literal. As you can take your, let's say, digital soul out of your current body and insert it into, say, robots that are on the other side of a door, for example. It's, and that's like the primary thing you're going to be using the ghost form for. That kind of puzzle solving, you'll have to, you saw the setup for a bit back there. Yeah. It'll also come in handy in collecting these sparkly stardust things. I think they're called soul. Which when you collect allow for a small upgrade. Yeah. Speaking of upgrades, going back to last week's Carrion review, in the whole discussion of Metroidvania structure, this game plays with that in its upgrade pathways, because it doesn't do the traditional find an item, upgrade your power set, conquer obstacle reading. No. This is more, once again, literal lock and key. The objects that you are going to be looking for are like actual key cards that will open actual doors. No metaphors going on in that particular area. Now, you do get upgrades of various varieties. You've got your shop upgrades, and you got your skill tree upgrades. So, if you want, better weapons, you will get them from shops primarily. You will those are for the secondary. For the primary weapons, you get the upgrades from defeating bosses. That's about as close as this game gets to traditional Metroidvania in terms of upgrading your character. Other upgrades are junctioned to various to upgrade paths. Like I'm trying, if I'm remembering correctly, like you'll get skill points usually in a keycard room. Like if I'm remembering correctly, the double jump is unlocked via the skill tree, for example. Or when you jump, you fire a beam that'll damage the enemies, or the drones get unlocked via this. No, those are from the shop. Like I said, there's a ton of upgrading that's going on, just not in the way you would usually expect a Metroidvania to do.
Oh, I have triggered the ghost.
There we go. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, try to tell me this isn't from Ghost in the Shell. Just, kind of a different application.
It certainly is similar enough in the idea.
Yeah. So point is, and yeah, like I said, you're using the ghost form primarily for puzzle solving. I'll be honest, at least during my time with the game, which is about 9 hours, I found the ghost form to be kind of underbaked. Like, not like I thought there was, like, I reached a section where I thought I had to possess a enemy mech suit in order to progress and fight through the area and all that. No, it turns out I just had to unlock the door with that. Yeah, definitely underutilized. I'm trying to think of something else. Yes, the story. So yeah, this game is pretty story heavy. In fact, it's story heavy in the same way Unmetal was or is. A lot of dialogue heavy cutscenes. Not going to lie, they fit much better in Unmetal than they did here. And I think that's down to just game types. When you're doing a top-down homage to Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid, you'd expect dialogue-heavy cutscenes and the like. And there's also a lot of station chatter, let's say, that isn't cutscene based, but you'll still have your characters talking to one another, fully voiced too. On the one hand, for an indie title, that's pretty impressive. On the other hand, it's still the kind of gameplay interruption stuff that I don't care for, especially in a Metroidvania. And I guess I could also mention the map. It's a pretty typical sketch out of an area. Though, as far as I could tell, there was nothing here to unlock portions of the map. You just kind of, you go to a room and you map out that room deal. And yeah, I think that covers the basic framework of the game. Also worth noting, there is I'm not sure if it's like a free DLC or if it comes with the game. There's also, in addition to the main campaign, there's missions mode, which is kind of, they're smaller episodic adventures to supplement the game. There is some additional DLC. There's a support mode, mission mode skin. It's an extra skin that works with the mission mode and the main mode when you beat it. And the soundtrack's available for $3.99. The skin is $1.99. $5.98. Soundtrack's worth it. I don't think the skin's worth it. But that gets me to the pricing of the main game, and that's $12.99. Yeah, a bit of an unusual price, but that's more than adequate for this game. Which, once again, I will state, it's got some awkwardness to it, but it's one of the better Metroidvania games I've played, which, covers some ground. Any other questions, comments, or concerns over Ghost 1.0?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah, I think the stuff I said was pretty much the only concern I had. But like I said, if you can remap stuff, that helps a lot.
It does, to a point. Anyway, so yeah, that'll about do it for this review and review session. So coming up on the week ahead, let me get to the right page here.
Research.
It's not really research, but I guess it fits the bill well enough. Anyway, on Wednesday, July 17th, we'll be welcoming, I'm going to probably mangle this, Chris Derschmidt. I'm assuming that's how that's pronounced, of Crazy Viking Studios. Crazy Viking Studios, they are the creators of the Volgar the Viking franchise. So we're going to have them on the program to talk about the forthcoming Volgar the Viking 2. Hopefully they can clear that game footage by Wednesday. No Friday show, and a new episode of MSP is slated as well. So with that in mind, until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.